'Tis the season, earnings are upon us, and it is that time when shareholders get to ask questions of the board of directors, I guess, of the executives, of the VPs and CEO, and of course the techno king, Elon Musk himself. Say technologies allows people to do that in a more direct manner, and sometimes we get good questions and sometimes we get crazy questions. I'm going to try and pass less judgment than I have in the past, but we'll see what happens. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So, Randy, we got to answer these questions, right?
We got to. I looked at these the other day, and actually they're not bad.
I feel that a lot of times, honestly, each quarter they get a little bit better. And the real problem with the Say Technologies one is if you're first in, your question's going to get asked because because the way the site shows them prioritizes the oldest questions.
Sure.
Because they get the most votes. It's whatever. So the idea is you can ask a question here. You have to register your shares. However many shares you have is how many votes you get. So this is very democratic.
So
by the way,
so I get 100,000 votes.
You have 100,000 shares, Randy. I don't know how we're expected to take you seriously. No, the thing is, by the way, guys, if you hate Tesla, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna give you advice on how you can take the company down. What you do is you buy tons and tons of shares and then vote with them. It's $1 trillion company. So you don't need that much, you guys. You only need to pump in like maybe $200-300 billion between you. But the problem is once you start doing that, you'll start going, maybe I should vote in the best interest of the company and not my crazy ham-fisted ideas of what the company should be. Can you give us some insight on how Robotaxi's been performing so far and what rate you expect in terms of for expansion in terms of vehicles, geography, cities, and supervisors? Do you think what kind of answer do you think they'll give to this?
So my first guess would be that they will reiterate what they've already said. And so the reiteration would be, we'll expand in Austin. We will then expand to San Francisco, Los Angeles, and apparently there's some confusion about whether it's Los Angeles and or San Diego, because I've heard both. But in the earnings call, it was Los Angeles. But then later it was San Diego. Now I drive up and down that corridor all the time, and there is no point at which there are not houses. So is it just one big, it's one big city now from Los Angeles to San Diego? But yes, so I think, and then from there, Los Angeles, San Diego, and then possibly Phoenix. But actually for this year, he only promised San Francisco, Los Angeles. So we'll see.
Well, and the year is over half done.
Right.
So time goes pretty quick. I'm learning as I get older. What are the key technical and regulatory hurdles still remaining for unsupervised FSD for personal use? Timeline? Well, first of all, timeline. We know the timeline. It's either 2 weeks or end of next year. Everything always is.
Well, we did have a comment just recently from Elon where he said that California was acting reasonably. Who knew? Maybe the most regulated state in the union. Probably. Did I say probably? Anyway, I know a little bit about the regulations in California, having lived here and done business here for the last 60 years. It is a very highly regulated state, but he says that regulators are treating him well. So the goal, of course, would obviously be that the regulators would be approving in California within the next couple of months. And that, I think, is what the restatement will be. And then the rest of the country, quite frankly, I think if he gets the regulators in California to go along, and if there aren't significant issues in Austin and or California, I think that that'll just knock all the pins down.
I like it. What specific factory task is Optimus up to? And what's the expected timeline for scaling production to enable external? Well, let's start with what's it doing in the factory.
Boy, I would love to have this question answered, but I don't think he's going to be ready to do that.
I'm going to agree with you on that. We'll tell you some stuff he's doing. He's giving out popcorn at the diner.
Right. Yes. I would not be surprised if he was going to answer this question at all seriously. He would probably answer with some of the things that we already kind of know that it
Yes.
can do. Pick and
Pick
place,
and place. Hmm.
possibly drive. I don't know if it could drive. Anyway, easy things that would not be surprising. Somebody complained that the popcorn trick,
Hmm.
the robot didn't look, or that the Optimus didn't look very sophisticated in that effort. It was spilling popcorn all over the place. The angle of the trough going into the bag was not that great. So, but we've also
Come
heard it.
on. Come on, you
But
guys.
we've also Elon just said the other day also that it can stir things in a pot. It can take out the trash. There's a list of things that we know it can't. We know it can dance. So if we need any dancers down at the
So if
factory.
we need tips,
Yeah,
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 we can dance. No, well, and the thing is, I've bought popcorn before. It's always on all floors. That's one of its primary places to be. What is the expected timeline for scaling production to enable external sales?
yeah. Again, I would love to have a firmer answer because we've heard two. So one answer was very clearly two specific answers. One is
Next 2 weeks.
a legion by the end of the year would
Okay.
be in the factories, and then 10 legions starting to ship second half of next year. That was the first statement that was made a couple of earnings calls ago. Since then, he gave a much kind of lesser statement that thousands by the end of the year, 1,000 or thousands by the end of the year, and tens of thousands by the end of next year. So no 50,000 by the end of next year. So we'll see. Those are kind of the two, and maybe we'll get something reiterating one or both of those, or something in between. We'll see.
Exactly. What we need is a clarification and or reiteration. Can you? There was one more part to it, which was about profit. I don't think we're going to see an answer on that.
No.
Can you provide an update on the development and production timelines for the more affordable models, and how will they balance cost reduction with profitability? And what do you expect for demand? Okay, so that's 3 questions, but
That
tackle it anyhow you like.
That is three questions. So I think that it's hilarious that this is the number one. This is the question that's on the street's mind, that they're so concerned about a $30,000 or $25,000 car, and nobody's asking any questions about the semi at $250,000 a piece. It's like, how can this be in this world?
The volume will be bigger for the car.
It
Will it
will
be
be, but
10 times bigger?
no, I don't think so.
No,
Anyway,
no.
so yes, I think he'll answer this question. If he doesn't answer this question, the stock goes down the next day. And I don't think
Okay.
that's why he'll do it, but I think he's at least somewhat sensitive to the idea that the Model Q, at this point, there has to be an answer. You can't do the political jigger, dance around anymore. It's time to say yes, fourth quarter. Yes, we expect to be able to ramp it quickly. Yes, we expect it to be the second best-selling car. I don't know.
And we had a discussion about this on your channel. I have very high confidence in the market demand for the slightly larger Model Y. Um, this is a question that kind of frustrates me a bit. Is there any news for Hardware 3 users getting retrofits or upgrades? And what would they get?
Yeah. So I've heard not a rumor. I've heard a speculation recently that Hardware 5 will fit in the Model 3 slot. Now,
Yeah.
there have to be people that have seen the Hardware 5, but I haven't heard any leaks. I don't know if you have. This
Mm-mm.
was, I think, pure rumor and speculation. But boy, would that make sense that they would make Hardware 5 to fit the Hardware 3 slot, which would make it less expensive to retrofit.
To me, the real answer is until we know what the actual exact system minimum requirements are, it doesn't make sense to even have this discussion. We are halfway through the operation, and you're already asking me to revise the first half. We don't. I can't give you a refund until I know what your actual bill was. So it's just, to me, desperately premature. Have any meaningful Optimus milestones changed for this year? I mean, I think that's the same
Oh,
question
great
as
question.
before. How will Build Back Better elimination of tax credits for solar affect your sales pipeline for mega packs?
Not at all. So
Oh,
that'll be the answer. I think he'll reiterate the idea that mega packs have unlimited
I
TAM.
see.
it's, it's just,
Mm,
I've gone through this list so many times, but you don't just have peaker plants. You don't just have utilities. You don't, every single nuclear plant that's going to be built needs one of these. Every single data center that's being built needs bunches of them because the data centers have these peaks and valleys, and you need the batteries in order to modulate those peaks and valleys, or you can get hurt. Somebody could get hurt really bad. Stuff like, you know, 900, $90,000 chips could be destroyed. So and then that's just those. That doesn't count all the internal uses for Tesla in terms of charging stations, mega charging stations for the semi trucks, and
sure.
on and on and on.
Sure. And I will, yeah, I will simplify that by saying the backlog is so long that if you were to eliminate all of those solar plants, which is the wrong number, it wouldn't be all, the backlog would remain. So there could be an impact in 2 to 5 years. But I would agree, as much as I don't like admitting when Randy Kirk is right, that on this particular instance, don't let it go to your head, Kirk. But I agree with you completely on that. Will there be a new AI day for things like Optimus, Autopilot, Dojo, etc.? And so we still do not know much about hardware 4. Okay, well that's not a question, but the first part, will there be a new AI day?
I
What do you
want
think the next day is going to be?
I want it to be an everything day. So instead of only
Mm,
having an hour and a half presentation, make it a two hour and a half presentations on the same day or something. Let's get in. Let's hear everything about batteries. Let's hear everything about the semi. Let's hear everything about AI. Let's hear how AI incorporates itself into all of the above. Let's hear everything about Optimus that they know. So if that's going to happen, if I get my wish, then that would have to be fairly close to the end of the year because I don't think they want to do a big reveal on Optimus until very end of this year or the beginning of next year.
So I can't say when the next day will be. It would not surprise me if it's not this year. But let me tell you what I'd like to see. The problem they had with Investor Day is the analysts they brought out were bored to tears. That was the worst crowd. Like I'm upset how bad that crowd was. Sandy Monroe was there. He said twice he heard people saying, "Where's the shrimp platter?" Like real that's why you're here. There's always shrimp at these things. I want the shrimp. My good. And when the camera would show the crowd, they were bored. They had desks and notepads, but they weren't really paying attention. Get them out. Get them out. They're not listening. Bring in people who actually do this stuff. Bring in
Who
Paul
would you have in
Foss from
mind? Who
Clean
would you
Technica.
think?
Well, myself, obviously, but bring in Paul Foss from Clean Technica. Bring in, yeah, invite Randy. Randy will be there with a laptop and taking copious notes. But like someone like Paul Foss, who is a real journalist who actually really like he'll go to Sweden to see a new wind turbine being commissioned. I don't remember if it was Denmark or where it was, but things like that. He's a smart guy. And instead you've got a junior analyst from a firm I've never heard of who's only there for shrimp. Get him out because they couldn't handle 2 hours. We could handle 6. We could do whatever we need to do to make it work. And we would be jazzed for the opportunity. I went off the deep end, Randy.
Oh, you
Every
did.
now and then you gotta throw me a life preserver. Cybertruck ramp is a year in, but sales have lagged. How are you thinking through boosting sales of such an incredible product?
Here's another one that I would love to hear an answer, even though it's not a needle mover. I would just like to hear an answer because it's interesting to me. As a product guy, I just like to know what the heck. I mean, is it a cost issue? Have they not been able to dial the cost down low enough to make it a mass product? Is it a performance issue? Is there something that's been going wrong in production that has caused them to slow it down because they can't make them any faster? Is there something going on in terms of some changes that they decided to make, kind of like they did with the semi truck, to where, okay, we need to change this completely. So let's not go crazy until we can put these changes. I mean, there's got to be something because there's got to be a million or two people sitting on reservations of $100 each, and I don't think that Elon needs the $100 is that much. So something else is going on.
The cost is too high. The exoskeleton design was elegant and simple and beautiful, and it didn't work. It's got redundant structures. It's too heavy. It's too expensive. And I don't know how they fix it. I don't know if they can fix it. And that is absolutely holding it back. Therefore, Cybertruck is a bust. No, that's not how that part works. It's a failure. No, it's wonderful. It's just too expensive. Infinite money glitch question here. Will Optimus have the dexterity to assemble a smartphone and therefore itself? Because I just bought one and I'm thinking about getting 10 more, but I was thinking maybe I'll just have Optimus do it.
Yeah, I think that eventually or ultimately Optimus will have the dexterity to do pretty much everything. Scott Walter and I used to have the argument. He'd say that he would be impressed when it could play the piano. I said I would be impressed when it could play the violin. So we'll see. Because
I'll be impressed when it can play the trumpet.
Quite frankly, this is way too inside music. But
you're right. Violin takes
as hard as a violin is, I think an oboe might even be harder. But
right.
But the dexterity required in order to play a violin is, I think, way beyond what it takes to play a piano. So I want to see it play a violin.
Well, it can already beat humans in both staring contests and holding your breath contests. So these things will come. All right. Let's see. I like this one. What's the backlog of semi-orders?
That's a good one.
It is a good one. Well, I'd say the answer is we don't know because it's not for sale. As soon as it is for sale, the backlog, I think, would be
millions,
millions, really. But at what price? I imagine there are companies who would say, look, when it gets to 218, we can pull the trigger on 50.
Yeah.
When it gets to 206, we can jump, unless our power rates go up by more than 2 cents a kilowatt hour or whatever it might be. So what do you think?
I have been shocked. My entire career has been in business. My entire career I worked with 400 small companies when I was a marketing consultant. I still am. I have one client left, but that's on purpose, not because they left. But anyway, my last one died, sadly.
Oh.
Anyway, but what we have is
suspicious.
Yes, suspicious. The crazy part about small business and medium-sized business and big-sized business owners, since I've asked consultants of larger businesses, it's the same everywhere, and we see it at General Motors and Ford and Mercedes right now, is they know they can read the headline. They can read the article in the trade magazine. They can go to the show and see it being displayed. And they still go, well, we'll probably get around to buying that someday, Maud. It's just crazy. So yes, anybody that isn't in line to buy a Tesla truck, semi-truck at $250,000 or less, is going to be a loser because they're going to be not competitive with anybody in their same industry. So I don't know what you do.
So to answer the question, I think we agree that today, whatever the backlog is, it's too large. But it doesn't matter because once the product is available, it will be weighed on its own merits. Maybe some of those pre-orders will cancel. Maybe but there will be new orders that come in. And as we discussed on another show, I don't remember if it was on your channel or mine, but there is a price at which the semi, you have to consider it. And then there's another price at which you can no longer consider anything else.
Actually, you just said it 5 minutes ago. Are you having a little bit of...
Was it on this show?
Yes, it's on this show.
Wasn't the previous show?
The beginning of onset Alzheimer's.
Wow. I thought that was on a previous show. But, I'm getting on in my years, Randy.
It's supposed to be my problem, not yours.
Believe me, it's both our problems now. So we got one more question here, and this is more in your wheelhouse, perhaps. How does steel, aluminum, and copper tariffs impact cost of goods sold, and what % local source are these commodities in each economic zone Tesla builds in? Wow. So we'll start with first the I mean, we can say, I mean, first let's talk about the how much tariff are we talking? Because those in the first half of the year they brought in something like $100 billion in tariffs, which is taxes that we're all paying now. So that's
Well,
fun.
that's a whole other long. That's a very, very long story. We'd have to have a whole show on that because it's
But let's talk about
75
copper.
75 to 80% of the tariffs are being paid by somebody other than the consumer. But
That's
no, that's
I love. Hey,
MIT.
we all love telling stories. That's a good fiction too.
That's MIT. MIT did the analysis, not me. Anyway,
But
so let's assume for a minute that it's all passing through the consumer. We don't care for this particular show.
sure.
What you're asking is how's it going to impact Tesla?
Hmm.
Clearly, the price of copper has gone up. It's gone up from
Hmm.
$5 to $5.50. We've seen that. That's 10%. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's an impact. The price of steel went up earlier, and it's going to stay up. It's not going to be probably not going to be coming back down anytime soon. So maybe they could give like a 3-minute answer on this that would say, yes, we roughly see that this is going to impact the final cost of our cars from domestic sources, not even necessarily from the tariffs, but rather because we're buying from domestic sources and those prices, these are commodities, they have a worldwide price, and we're having to pay the current commodity price.
On a car, would you say 4%?
Have no idea. I have
Yeah.
to ask Rock.
We don't know how much steel,
Steel and how much
aluminum, and
copper.
copper is in a vehicle, and to the second part, we don't know the source mix.
Yeah.
Because the second part is how domestic is it in each market? Well, we don't know. We just don't know. I don't know. Maybe my good buddy Grok knows, but I refuse to talk to him unless I'm in the car,
Well,
and he refuses to get in the car.
the good news is that Tesla has reduced the amount of copper that they use in their cars. So this will be hitting all of their competition much harder than it's hitting them.
Moving, well, they've only reduced it substantially in the Cybertruck so far, but moving forward, it stands to be better. But we're not talking about that many. We're talking about 30-40 bucks of copper per car. So $3-4 a car. That's not going to make or break. There's a bit going on. So guys, thank you to the Say folk for asking increasingly better questions.
Yeah.
There's only a few in there that I didn't care for, and I'm just glad the community is getting involved. It used to be if you wanted to ask, if it was 10 years ago, Randy, and I wanted to ask a shareholder question, how would I do that?
Not.
Well, you'd go to the shareholder meeting and hope.
Yeah, right.
No matter how brilliant the question was, you would hope you could go to the shareholder meeting and hope your question would be addressed. Yeah. Yes, you in the Rebellion Air Lion shirt, as far as I can tell. So, guys, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? What questions would you have asked? I'll be at the X Takeover in San Mateo this weekend. Come find me. Say hello. Well, I didn't want to bother you. I thought maybe you're a very quiet, introverted person who just happens to be at this event in undercover. No, that's what I'm there for. Say hello. And everybody else, smack buttons, smash thumbs yourself, your own, someone else's. It doesn't matter. That is not legal advice. And everyone else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, Friday and Saturday in San Mateo.